Especially like you said, we're, going into school, with, a full 17, 18 years of life. And, there's only so much that we can, know about the world at that point. So being able to talk through that with somebody, such as yourself, I think is really awesome to hear. That's it. That student sounds like a previous stubborn version of me. So I can definitely attest to that. I can definitely attest to that. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Black Student Success Podcast, where we bring you insight and guidance from successful Black professionals and students. My name is Selvin, and as always, we appreciate the support. So today we have Kairise Conwell, who is a career advisor, and she has a lot of experience working for colleges and in higher education, working with students. So we definitely want to highlight her position and her office, just in case if you had any questions in regards to if this is the best major for you, what career paths do I have? If you are on campus or near campus and you have a career at, a services office, Kairise is going to be one of those people who you're going to want to talk to. So we're going to talk about what she does in her role. So Kairise, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So let's start off how we always do by asking, who is Kairise Conwell?
Gosh, I would categorize myself really as a student affairs professional. My passion really is to assist students in their educational goals and making sure that they are connected to the support and resources that they need to be successful. So that encompasses a lot of different areas, not just career, although it is a part of career. People don't realize it's a part of career management. But that's really where my passion is. So that's how I would say who I am as far as my professional life. But I wear many hats. I'm a mother. I'm, of course, a daughter. And of course, I myself have gone through college and always a lifelong learner. So I enjoy discussion and discourse and being able to just learn from others as I connect and build relationships and hear other people's stories. So
Awesome. Thanks for that introduction. So now I know that we, gave everybody a little bit of, kind of where you work, but I want to give you an opportunity to kind of describe, what your office is and, why a student should actually attend your office.
So currently I work in what we call a career development services, but at many institutions, it's called different things. It could be the career office, career services, so whatever it's called at your institution, but there I am a career advisor. And again, depending on the institution and the size, career offices are kind of organized in various ways. Sometimes they are embedded within actual colleges associated with programs. So in a way, they work hand in hand with an academic advisor. In many cases, the titles could be interchanged. Other institutions, there is a separate space to go in, and depending on, there may be peer coaches that work with you on basic things like resumes, but then there may be specific people for internships, or a specific person that coordinates the job fairs, or a specific person that helps with interviewing. I'm at a small 2-year state college here in Florida. So I'm a career advisor, so I do it all. So I do presentations in the classrooms. I meet individually and group with students. I hold workshops. I coordinate events, particularly connecting students with employers, and just really assist students with their whole career journey, which, believe it or not, starts with career exploration, making sure you understand what it is that you would like to do. And so many students don't know. Others who do know may not realize all the components to that and what kind of steps they need to take to really be successful in that. So we start with that and working closely with academic advising for those students who may be undecided or unsure if they need direction or changing direction. And then, of course, throughout their time at college, we want to be involved in a system because there are things along the way of you going through school that really will help you once you graduate and you go out into the workforce that can have some more successful results as opposed to waiting until you're getting ready to graduate and then you come to the career service and say, help me find a job. So, but that's basically what I do. So, it's a lot of creative room to define that. And again, it just all depends on your particular institution. But I will say that career management is necessary. And I think the more we can educate students on why that's necessary, particularly during these times when you really have to be flexible and adaptable with changing workplace, things that are happening with the pandemic, and new technologies that have allowed us to do remote work. And it has really changed what it means to go into the workforce. So students, we, want to be prepared. And so the emphasis really is on skills and being career ready. And so you'll see a shift to more students being connected to career offices, I believe, in the next few years. So.
Awesome. I think there's two things that you highlighted that I wanted to point out is the ability to be adaptable. And I know that students have had a taste of that, depending on where they're at, they, had to go back home if they were living on campus, stay there and really adjust to, not physically being connected with the campus to be able to still strive and kind of move towards graduation. And so, highlighting that fact of being adaptable, doesn't stop beyond that. I'm glad that you highlighted that when it comes to, that career side of it, and the fact that, it is a process, and there's different things, like you said, along the way that you find out that the career office, whatever it looks like on your campus, can help you, as opposed to, heading there junior, senior year, and then trying to get all of that work together before you walk the stage. So I appreciate you really mentioning that.
Absolutely. People, I think, really underestimate the power of networking and what that really means, and how to really work the networking, because that's not something, you do, like you said, junior, senior year, when you're getting ready to graduate and looking for a job. That's not the time to start networking. That's the time to use the network, hopefully, that you built. So.
Absolutely. What would you say is one misconception about your office? So I know that we kind of talked about, kind of the late bloomers going in kind of, late into their college career. But what else would you say, maybe, from your experience of talking with students, and then they go in and realize that, oh, this is not what I thought it would be. It's actually either more or something different. So what would you say is a misconception about your office?
I would say the main misperception is that we're a job placement center. So if you're not currently actively seeking a job, which most people when they first enter college don't, they tend not to think they can go to the career office. And then when they do want to, I guess, use the office because they're getting ready to graduate, it's almost like they think we're just going to place them into a position. Okay, you're finishing in this major. Here's, 5 employers. Here's your pick. Go interview and be great, right? So that's not exactly how career centers work. So I would say those are the two biggest misperceptions. And even among faculty and staff at college and institutions can have that same misperception. So I do a lot of educating and creating awareness of just what we do and the benefits and the services that we provide.
Yeah. So there's a lot more legwork on the students' end that needs to kind of happen to make that happen. So would you say it's more like a partnership? Obviously with the students' goals in mind, but would you say it's something where you and the student are working together to try to meet, whatever their needs are?
Yes, it's definitely driven by the student and where they are. So, and that's part of the career exploration or research piece. I always explain to students that you can know 100% what you want to do. However, are you sure that you know fully what that entails? what steps you need to take, what are the skills that you need to build and perhaps strengthen to be competitive in that. Or do you, maybe you're on the other end of the spectrum where maybe you kind of have an idea, maybe you don't know how to articulate it or what it's called, or if there's even a job in something, or maybe you have no idea that what you really are passionate about could be a career. I see students on that end too, where they really love, say, for instance, social justice and activism, but they're kind of like, that's not a real job. So I got to go to college to pick something and do that on the side. So sometimes it's just helping students navigate. So it just depends on where they are in that journey for themselves, why they came to college in the first place. What are their goals? What were their thoughts? What were some of the things that motivated them to get a higher level of education than beyond high school? So it really just depends there. And again, it also depends on the student. So as I mentioned, I'm at like a 2-year state college, or in a lot of states, community college. So we get students that come in at all different age and levels. So we get adults that are returning to college to finish an education for their job, or to be able to get promoted, or to change careers and go into a different direction. So we don't always get the traditional young adult, 17, 18-year-old straight out of high school. So working with career services, it's a blend of kind of where the student is. And so you have to have really great active listening and being able to assess where they are and how best to help them with where they are in that career journey. So
absolutely, yeah. It's like you said, with wearing a number of different hats, and then for your case specifically, because you've had other positions, kind of working in other sides of the school, university, or whatever institution it is, mm-hmm. You have the not only like the technical skills when it comes to the office that you're working in, but just working with students in general, and assessing motivations and things like that, and really kind of looking at the student holistically. But in your case, your lens is now a little bit more so on that career side and putting those things together. So thank you for
absolutely. That. Yeah, I've been in different roles in higher ed, and the longest has been more along academic counseling. So that has a very broad way of assisting students, which tapped into careers, because my personal philosophy to helping students has always been assisting them in figuring out what kind of work, what could you see yourself doing, and then figuring out what major is the best pathway for that for you, and what are the things to do along the way, and how best can you be supported in that, and what resources are available to assist you in that. So that's always been my philosophy, even prior to me working in officially a career service role. So to me, that was just kind of the natural trajectory of my career, and something new that I wanted to explore. And actually, I really do enjoy this side of it. So
awesome. All right, now Kairise, I know you talked about the students who are kind of on two different spectrums, who are the ones who know exactly what they want to do, but there might be some pieces missing, and then the ones who are kind of like, I have no idea where I'm at. When they come to your office, and maybe there's some tools or resources that you're able to provide, or just even a part of the conversation of trying to figure out where they're at, what would you say is maybe like what would be considered a hidden gem? So specifically, once a student realizes, once they're either using this tool or method or whatever the case is, a light bulb clicks, or it all kind of makes sense, and like, wow, this actually put me a lot farther than I thought I would.
Well, we use assessments, which is really based on a more traditional career theory. However, what I find is that trying to at least have a basic understanding of their personality and what they're interested in. So one of my favorite questions is, what do you like to do outside of going to school, or, if they're working or not? What is it that you enjoy doing? Where do you spend your time? And that usually combined with whether they're more extroverted or introverted, or whether or not they, are more, a thinker or a feeler or what have you, that really gauges to me kind of what things they're really passionate about and enjoy doing. And so then it's interesting to hear, well, what are some of the things you've thought about doing? What brought you to school? What do you think possibly as a job or career? And so sometimes that's telling, because if they are selecting something they think will make money that they can actually get a job in, but it doesn't quite align with really what they're interested in doing, then to me, it's the beauty of being able to show them that let's make things that you're interested and passionate about. How can we tie that to work? So to me, that's the part that I enjoy, is helping students realize that there are pathways to do what they want to do. I always tell them it's, when you find a career, it's more than the actual job task itself. That's one piece of it. The other piece is, in what environment or industry do you do that type of work? And that could be what you have an interest in. So you can love numbers and data sheets and want to be an accountant, but if you really love sports and athletics and and that sort, or entertainment or that sort of thing, there's a way to kind of combine those two into a career. You can be an accountant, but where you actually are an accountant could be in a field or working at a company that actually is in, what embraces your interests. So when I get students to understand that and they can see the possibilities, then that's what is really enjoyable, because it's like opening up a whole new world. Students really are limited to kind of what they think a position is. There's some that are really limited because they base everything on what they see on TV. And then others are limited based off of their experience. Maybe, because everybody in their family is a nurse or work in healthcare in some capacity. That's kind of the avenue they just gravitate, thinking that's the best pathway. But I literally was talking to a young man, and he wanted to be a nurse. And I said, well, have you thought about, being a CNA? Have you kind of maybe volunteered in that capacity? And he didn't want to do any of that stuff that was your typical CNA work. And I said, well, how are you going to be a nurse? Like, I understand you may not every day have to do that full time, but as a nurse, there's still going to be components of being able to care for a patient on that level. And so you need to make sure that that's something that you are prepared to do and would enjoy, can do. If not, then, you might want to think about something else. So that's the crazy thing. Sometimes there's a disconnect between what people think the job entails, because maybe they just only seen one part of it, and what it really entails. So that's part of the career exploration process that I explain to students, because they think, well, I know what I want to do, but they don't realize really career exploration is really understanding everything that goes into it, and why you're interested in that, because that's what's going to keep you motivated when you get to those tough classes, when you are faced with those long nights and you're kind of rethinking and doubting yourself. That's what's going to get you through, is remembering why you're interested in that. So if you don't know why you're interested in something, if you just selected a box just because that's what your mom did, or that's just, what can make money, then that's not what's going to help, keep you motivated and pushing forward. Because, nothing is easy. Not everything is rocket science, but no career is easy. Every career you have to work and learn and build skills and challenge yourself and go outside the box. So if you're motivated and that's what you're passionate about, it goes a long way to helping you be successful in that.
Yeah, I think there's a beauty of being able to marry some of those things that you never thought could actually combine together, and just having somebody to work with you and talk through those things is always good to know. Especially like you said, we're going into school, with a full 17, 18 years of life, and there's only so much that we can know about the world at that point. So being able to talk through that with somebody, such as yourself, I think is really awesome to hear. That student sounds like a previous stubborn version of me. So I can definitely attest to that. I can definitely attest to that. So just go into it with an open mind. Thank you for that. So excuse me. So there is so a question that we always ask our guests is, how do you define success? With you actually being in the office that you're in, you probably see a number of different perspectives when it comes to what is successful, or at least, whether it's your fellow colleagues or even just students coming in, just like, this is what I want, this is how I want to get there, and this is the major or career path I want to take. But for you personally, how would you define success?
So for me personally, I define success as really, are you really thriving and enjoying your life? And do you feel fulfilled in that you are making a contribution to the world? And as long as you're moving forward and learning and growing, I feel like that's successful. When you are stagnant, or when you're stuck, or when you are just going through the motions, maybe you're unfulfilled or unhappy or unsatisfied, then to me that's not successful. So you could be making all the money, or you could have all of the material things that you would ever want and be able to do this or that. But, are you connected to people? Are you living what you feel is your purpose, and are you contributing in whatever way that is? For my students, I feel like I'm successful if I can assist those students in being able to identify and really be able to communicate. That's a lot of a lot of times students have an idea of what it is they want to do. They just don't know what it's called, or that, so my success in being in my role is that students are able to not just identify what it is that they want to do as far as a career, but then be able to successfully kind of have a plan for themselves and kind of navigate their career management, and feel pretty confident moving forward, to be able to communicate and locate the resources that they need. If I can do that for students, then I find that's successful. And it's icing and the cherry on the top if, I can see direct correlation to them getting a position in their field, or a wonderful internship opportunity, or even just making some really great connections through networking. That's kind of like the bonus. But a lot of our students transfer to a university to complete their bachelor's, so we don't always get to see the tail end. So my success for me is that, but so that's a win. So that's how I define success. I mean, I don't know, is that really vague?
Yeah, no, you went into full detail with that. So thank you.
Because we all know we don't really get paid that much in higher ed.
Yes,
I do it for the students, not so much to be rich and famous. So
yes, it's definitely a passion project in some cases. So absolutely. Thank you. So thank you for that and the work that you do.
No problem.
So now just a couple of questions just to have our guests learn a little bit more about you. And you can either pull from personal experience or just what you've seen from your students. But what do you think is a rite of passage that all students should go through as they're kind of going through their college career?
Oh, man. I definitely think when you first start college, students should go through whatever that sort of welcome to campus week or days, or whatever events that happen that colleges or universities have. Regardless if you feel like it fits you or the entertainment is not your style, it's a great way to sort of get an overview of the university, the culture, the climate. You can meet and connect. You can grab different things, but it sort of gets you in that vibe of the college. It sort of sets the tone for you being a college student, that you're there because it's such a great environment to learn and grow in and outside the classroom. So a lot of those sort of welcome events are things that enrich your experience outside of the classroom, because yes, there may be some open houses or, faculty led workshops that happen during that time. The majority of the things that happen are student led activities, student organizations, student life, and other entities that really can enrich your experience. And so I think that's like your first rite of passage, is just go to those things, especially if you can find and connect to specific offices. So I know for students of color, sometimes that might be, a diversity office, or, the Hispanic office, or, whatever that specific population you identify with. There may be those specific cultural offices available to you. So again, connect with those during those first few weeks of your college experience. I think that's just every right. And I know if you don't live on campus or it's a commuter campus, people tend to skip that. And so they're not as connected and engaged just because their experience is just to come and go to class. But really, the college experience is more than just going to class and what you learn in the classroom. It's working on projects with other classmates. It's being able to go to office hours and have that kind of organic discussions and mentorship even with faculty. It's being able to problem solve and really critically think what resources you need to assist you with assignments and so forth. So it's all of those things that happen outside the classroom that really is what builds your skills and really makes you career ready, and really enriches your experience as a person and matures you as a person. So that's the first rite of passage. I would say another rite of passage, again, I believe that most colleges have some sort of major sort of event where it involves employers or companies, or resource fair, or transitions fair, anything of that nature, or even something that's like a faculty mixer or alumni reception, things of that nature. I mentioned before, networking. People really underestimates the power of networking, and so I think that's another rites of passage, is to really network. Being a college student is like the best time to really go out there and say, hey, I'm a college student. I'm interested in this. Like no other time can people look at you and be willing to give of their time and share with you than knowing that you're a college student trying to learn. So it's an opportune time to build those networks. So in whatever fashion that is at your college, and a lot of times that is through the career office, but it could be the alumni office. It could be, again, prior institution I was at, it was our diversity affairs division that had kind of like a faculty mixer for students, so that they can see other faculty of color there and be able to kind of connect with those folks on campus, which was a PWI, predominantly white institution. So that was, important. So I think that's another rites of passage. And of course, toward the end is another rites of passage. If there's a specific ceremony that your particular college does, and I'm not just talking about the larger institution, but if there's a particular office or college that does kind of a smaller ceremony to celebrate you finishing your degree, I think that's important. Some people blow it off. Some people don't think it's as important. Some people's like, maybe they're really introverted and don't want everybody looking at them. But it's important to celebrate the achievement that you have, because not everybody makes it to that point. You've worked hard. Even though you may have gotten really good grades and you felt like it was fairly easy, it's still a journey. And so I think that that's a rite of passage that everyone should go through. And so you should celebrate that. Hopefully there is those opportunities that is more personal than the larger university scale graduation ceremony. But I definitely think that that's another way to celebrate. And if there isn't, then that is something, look to probably create that, because even if you're just involved in a student organization, like a student union or what have you, you can create that own for members in your organization, having a special sort of celebration for those folks, because it's a journey for people. And I think those are like three key rites of passages that I can think of.
There you go. Yeah. And it spans from the beginning to the end. And I definitely agree. There's no other time in your life where people are like just kind of just pouring in information and trying to help you as much as possible. So definitely take advantage of that. And I think there's a certain level of excitement of being on campus for the first time, as like an official college student, and being surrounded by a bunch of other students who have no idea what's going to be ahead for the next 4 years. I think there's like a certain level of excitement in that, just kind of being in that environment and figuring out that, this is where I start to absorb and like start to, in some cases, find myself. So thank you for spelling all of that out. That was great. Kairise, that's what I've got for you. So thank you for sharing your experience and kind of your role of getting students on the right path. I think it's really good for students to kind of hear that, especially if they for whatever reason are reserved from kind of actually going to the offices or exploring. Hopefully they hear this and they're like, okay, maybe I should start to do a little bit more digging and find people like yourself to kind of talk to. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Any last words, or if any of our guests have any questions, how they can reach you, I'm gonna give you the floor.
Well, people are more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. I think you could just search for Kairise Conwell, but if not, I can always provide the link to that. But I think for me, I just really want students to really understand that they are not powerless. They can own their education journey and really manage their career and where they want it to go. That there is a lot more support and resources than they realize. They just have to really be able to set priorities and manage their time in order to really accomplish what they want to accomplish. And it does take work. So there's no way to get around it. It does take work. And so, but there are people there that are there to support you. There are resources there. And even more so with this pandemic, a lot of things have shifted to make it really accessible for students and their schedules and being flexible. So a lot of, I know, tools that we have used in our office and workshops have been virtual. There's been video links and things that we've done. There's been a lot more material we've used through our learning management system, which is Canvas is what we use. And so there's just a lot of great advantages and resources. I mean, even a lot of our tutoring services had online options and so forth. So there really is not a lot of excuses for students nowadays to kind of say, I'm horrible at this and I just, I can't do that. It may take you taking, again, ownership of it. It may not always be handed. It may not always be like, put in your face. Here's a list of things to go to. But if you utilize the resources and the people that are there to support you, then it's absolutely doable. So I just want to encourage people in whatever capacity. And that's not just career services. That is a myriad of resources on campus, from the library to learning or tutoring centers to faculty, right? And utilizing office hours. There really are people there that want to, and academic advisors too, I should say. They really are there. And so sometimes people block their own way to success because they let appearances or lack of information, but it's out there. So just reach out and make sure that you are taking ownership of it. Don't just go by what someone tells you, making sure that you've done your research and because the information is out there and there's ways to connect to folks to make sure that you're on the right path. So I cringe every time when I hear someone say, oh man, my advisor caused me to have to like go a whole nother semester. And I'm like, but how did you not catch that? Like the list of classes are right there. Like you gotta have to, you can't just, completely rely on someone else for your journey. Because unlike medicine, which you may have no knowledge of, so when a doctor tells you something, you're kind of like, I'm assuming you know what you're talking about. You have your own journey, and there's a lot of factors that play into your success. You know your strengths, your weaknesses, your work schedule, the other responsibilities that pull on your time. If I go study in my room, I'm going to fall asleep, or that what your distractions are, like those things. And so as much as we're here to assist you, and we've seen a lot if we've been in the field for a while, you still know your own journey and your own story and what works for you. And so you just have to kind of own it and kind of create a plan for yourself and really sort of keep moving forward. Even if it means you've taken a step back, don't give up and keep pushing forward. And there are folks there that are going to be there to help you succeed no matter what. So that's all I just want to encourage students to do. And the last thing, is to really think about what it is that you need for your career, because it may not necessarily mean you need right away a full bachelor's degree. And I know that might be unpopular, but working at a state school, I can honestly say the whole micro-credentialing, getting certifications, then maybe an associate's, and then a bachelor's, but being able to work and build experience along the way, that's not a totally unrealistic or kind of downplay to careers. There's a lot of great careers and a lot of need in terms of shortages in the workplace. In a number of careers that don't require you to go 10 plus years to college to do that. So just really think about what it is that you want to do, and don't limit yourself thinking you can't make money for that. So the energy workforce is a great example of that. They are aging out of that field, but they make great money. And that doesn't necessarily require you to be in college for years and years and years. You literally can go and just get an associate degree and be able to move into that field. So just be open to what that education path looks like. But start from a place of what it is that you're passionate about and what it is that you want to do, and being able to identify what's the best route for you. So that's just my last piece to it for students thinking about college and thinking about how to get through college, because it is a big world and it can be intimidating and scary. And there's all different sizes of colleges. There's all different levels of colleges. So just, start with what's comfortable, identify who's there to help you and assist you, and just create a plan for yourself and keep moving forward. So
yeah, absolutely. Very, very well put. So thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to everybody who's been watching and listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. That's at Inquire Higher. And then check out our website, inquirehigher.com. We got a lot of great information there. And we just opened our new online community that's connecting Black students and professionals, just getting more mentorship and tools and resources to you faster. So definitely check it out. But until next time, peace.